You know what's funny? People think every victory needs an announcement. Every dream needs a status update. Every move needs an audience. They talk about what they're going to build, what they're going to become, how they're going to shock the world. Day after day, word after word, noise after noise. Meanwhile, somewhere in the shadows, someone says nothing. No speeches, no promises, no attention seeking, just work. And when the time comes, the same people who laughed at the silence are left staring at the results, wondering when it all happened. People underestimate silence because it doesn't look powerful. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't walk into a room and announce itself like it owns the place. That's why most people ignore it. They mistake silence for weakness, hesitation, or fear. They think if you're not constantly talking about your goals, you probably don't have any. If you're not posting every step of your journey, you must not be moving forward. Funny, isn't it? The world has become so addicted to announcements that it forgets the value of action. Everyone wants to be heard before they've earned the right to be listened to. Everyone wants applause before the performance even begins. They spend their energy convincing others they're going to succeed, instead of using that energy to actually succeed. Silence is different. Silence is expensive because it requires discipline. It forces you to keep your plans protected from unnecessary opinions. The moment you tell people what you're about to do, they start adding their own fears, doubts, and limitations to your vision. Some will question you because they don't understand. Some will laugh because they can't imagine it. Some will discourage you because your ambition reminds them of the chances they never took. And before you know it, your focus starts shifting from the goal itself to defending the goal against everyone else's judgment. That's a waste of energy. Energy is one of the most valuable resources a person possesses. Not money, not fame, not connections. Energy. Everything depends on it. Every decision you make, every skill you build, every challenge you overcome requires energy. Yet people throw it away every day. They argue online. They seek validation from strangers. They explain themselves to people who never intended to understand them. They chase attention like it's oxygen. Then they wonder why they're exhausted before they've even started the real work. Silence protects that energy. When you're silent, you're not busy proving anything. You're not trapped in endless debates. You're not distracted by the need for approval. Your mind remains focused on execution. While others are spending hours talking about success, you're spending hours creating it. While they're collecting compliments for ideas, you're collecting experience through action. The difference seems small in the beginning, but over weeks, months, and years, that difference becomes enormous. Think about it. Every time you announce a goal, you receive a temporary reward. People encourage you. They praise your ambition. They tell you how impressive your plans sound. Your brain enjoys that feeling. It feels like progress, even though nothing has actually been accomplished. It's a strange trick. The satisfaction arrives before the achievement. The applause comes before the work. And for many people, that applause becomes enough. They slowly lose the urgency to execute because they already tasted the emotional reward. Silence removes that trap. When nobody knows what you're building, there is no artificial satisfaction waiting for you. The only reward comes from real progress. The only proof comes from results. The only excitement comes from seeing your effort turn into something tangible. That creates a different kind of motivation. A stronger one, a more reliable one. It doesn't depend on likes, compliments, or recognition. It depends on commitment. The loudest person in the room often spends more time managing an image than building a future. They become trapped inside a performance. Every move is designed to be seen. Every action is calculated for attention. Every achievement becomes content instead of growth. Meanwhile, the silent person keeps moving forward without carrying that burden. No audience to impress. no expectations to maintain, no pressure to appear successful before becoming successful. Silence turns your attention inward. It allows you to study your weaknesses honestly. It gives you room to fail privately and improve quietly. It creates a space where learning matters more than looking impressive. Because the truth is, growth is rarely glamorous. It is repetitive, frustrating, and often invisible. Most people would rather talk about greatness than endure the boredom required to achieve it. Silence accepts that boredom. Silence understands that mastery isn't built through announcements. It's built through countless unnoticed moments of effort.
Recognition is a strange addiction. The more people get, the more they crave. A compliment today becomes an expectation tomorrow. A little attention becomes a hunger that refuses to stay small. That's why so many people spend their lives chasing visibility instead of value. They become obsessed with being seen, noticed, praised, and admired. Every action starts serving an audience rather than a purpose. Every achievement becomes a performance. Every effort becomes a request for approval. And somewhere along the way, the work itself loses importance. It's almost amusing. A person starts a journey with a dream, but before reaching the destination, they become distracted by the spotlight. They stop asking, "How can I improve?" and start asking, "How can I impress?" Those two questions lead to very different futures. One builds skill, the other builds an image. One creates substance, the other creates appearance. The world often confuses the two because appearances are easier to notice. Real progress happens quietly. Real growth rarely announces itself. Real excellence spends more time in workshops than on stages. People love recognition because it feels like proof. If others applaud them, they assume they must be doing something right. If nobody notices them, they begin doubting their worth. That's a dangerous way to live because recognition is unpredictable. Sometimes the hardest worker gets ignored. Sometimes the loudest person gets celebrated. Sometimes the person producing real value stands in the shadows while someone else collects the attention. If your motivation depends on recognition, your confidence will rise and fall according to forces you can't control. The work doesn't have that problem. The work is honest. It doesn't care about popularity. It doesn't care about applause. It rewards effort with improvement. It rewards consistency with results. It rewards discipline with growth. Every hour invested creates something valuable, whether anyone notices or not. That's why people who focus on work become dangerous over time. They aren't wasting energy monitoring reactions. They aren't checking whether the crowd approves. They're too busy building. The funny thing about attention is that it often creates pressure instead of progress. Once people start watching you, you become concerned with maintaining their expectations. Suddenly, every move feels public. Every mistake feels embarrassing. Every setback feels like a threat to your reputation. Instead of learning freely, you begin performing carefully. Instead of experimenting boldly, you become afraid of looking foolish. Recognition starts controlling your behavior. Work liberates you from that trap. When your priority is improvement, mistakes become useful instead of humiliating. Failures become lessons instead of disasters. You stop treating every challenge like a public trial and start treating it like training. The goal shifts from looking successful to becoming capable. That's where real growth begins. Look around. Many people spend hours crafting the appearance of productivity. They talk about being busy. They advertise their ambitions. They showcase every small achievement as if the world is waiting for updates. Yet beneath all the noise very little is actually happening. Activity becomes a substitute for accomplishment. Visibility becomes a substitute for value. The person focused on work operates differently. They understand that results don't care about announcements. A completed project matters more than 100 promises. A developed skill matters more than 1,000 motivational quotes. A solved problem matters more than endless discussions about solving it. Reality rewards execution, not intention. There is also a hidden advantage in ignoring recognition. It protects your concentration. Every time you seek approval, you invite distraction. You begin comparing yourself to others. You start measuring your progress against their reactions. You worry about whether you're receiving enough attention. Your focus drifts away from the task and toward the audience. The audience becomes the center of your decisions. The worker doesn't have time for that game. Their attention remains where it belongs, on the next improvement, the next challenge, the next opportunity to grow. While others are collecting opinions, they're collecting experience. While others are building personal brands, they're building abilities. While others are counting followers, they're counting hours invested in mastery. And that's the joke most people never understand. Recognition often arrives after the work is done, not before. The crowd usually notices success when it becomes impossible to ignore. They see the finished masterpiece, not the years of effort hidden behind it. They celebrate the victory without understanding the sacrifices that created it. The people obsessed with recognition spend their lives chasing shadows, while the people obsessed with work eventually become the source of the light.
Everyone loves dramatic success stories. They love the idea of a single moment changing everything overnight. One opportunity, one breakthrough, one lucky chance, and suddenly life becomes extraordinary. It sounds exciting. It sounds cinematic. It sounds like the kind of story people want to hear. But reality has a darker sense of humor. Reality doesn't care about dramatic moments nearly as much as it cares about repetition. The world is filled with people waiting for one big opportunity while ignoring the small actions that create opportunities in the first place. Consistency is boring. That's why most people avoid it. There is nothing glamorous about showing up every day. There is no crowd cheering when you practice a skill for the 100th time. Nobody celebrates the mornings you wake up tired and continue anyway. Nobody applauds the nights you keep working while others are distracted. Consistency doesn't create excitement. It creates results. And results are often invisible until they become impossible to ignore. People underestimate the power of small actions because they expect immediate rewards. They want proof that their effort is working. They want visible progress. They want signs, confirmations, and guarantees. When those things don't appear quickly, they become frustrated. They start questioning the process. They abandon the routine. They search for a shortcut. It's almost funny. They plant a seed and then dig it up every few days to check if it's growing. Then they wonder why nothing survives. Consistency demands patience. It asks you to continue even when progress feels slow. It requires faith in a process that often hides its rewards for a long time. That's uncomfortable for most people. Human nature loves instant gratification. It loves quick victories and immediate recognition. Consistency offers neither. It simply asks you to keep going. That's what makes it powerful. Imagine two people starting from the same place. One works intensely for a few days, then disappears for weeks. They rely on motivation, emotions, and bursts of enthusiasm. The other person shows up every day, even when they don't feel inspired, even when they're tired, even when nobody is watching. In the beginning, the difference between them seems insignificant. A few extra hours here, a little more effort there. Nothing dramatic. Months pass. then years. The gap becomes enormous. Not because one person was more talented, not because one person had better luck, because one person built momentum while the other kept starting over. Starting over is exhausting. Every time people abandon a routine, they lose the progress attached to it. They must rebuild discipline. They must regain focus. They must recreate habits that were already working. Consistent people avoid this cycle. They keep moving forward even if the pace is slow. And movement, no matter how small, always beats standing still. The strange thing about consistency is that its rewards arrive all at once. For a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. Effort goes in, results stay hidden, improvement feels invisible. Then suddenly people notice. Suddenly, everyone sees the success. They see the outcome and assume it appeared overnight. They never saw the countless days that built it. They never saw the repetition, the discipline, the sacrifices, or the persistence. That's why so many people misunderstand achievement. They focus on the visible result instead of the invisible process. They admire the mountain, but ignore the climb. They celebrate the performance, but overlook the practice. They want the rewards without respecting the routine that creates them. Consistency doesn't ask for perfect days. That's another illusion people believe. They think success belongs to those who never struggle, never fail, and never lose momentum. Reality is messier. Consistent people have bad days too. They experience frustration. They make mistakes. They feel doubt. The difference is that they don't allow temporary setbacks to become permanent excuses. A missed day becomes a missed day, not a reason to quit. A mistake becomes a lesson, not an identity. A failure becomes feedback, not a final verdict. That's how momentum survives. The world often glorifies intensity because intensity is visible. It looks impressive. It creates excitement. It generates attention. Consistency rarely attracts attention because it operates quietly. Day after day, week after week, year after year. No dramatic speeches, no grand announcements. Just repeated action moving in the same direction. And while everyone else searches for motivation, the consistent person builds systems. While others depend on feeling inspired, the consistent person depends on habits. While others wait for the perfect moment, the consistent person keeps working through imperfect ones. That's where results are born. Not in moments of excitement, but in moments of repetition. Not through occasional effort, but through sustained effort. Not through extraordinary actions performed once, but through ordinary actions performed countless times. Because success has always had a strange sense of humor, it disguises itself as something simple, repetitive, and easy to ignore until it becomes too large to deny. People have an interesting habit. They love making announcements. Before they achieve anything, they feel the need to tell everyone what they're about to do. New goal? Tell the world. New plan? Tell the world. New dream? Tell the world. It's as if speaking about success has become more important than creating it. They treat words like achievements and attention like progress. And for a while it works. People listen. People react. People offer encouragement. Everyone enjoys the performance. The only problem is that performance and accomplishment are not the same thing. Words are cheap because anyone can produce them. A person can talk about discipline without being disciplined. They can speak about ambition without taking action. They can describe a future they have never earned. The mouth has no entry requirements. Results do. Results demand effort. They demand sacrifice. They demand patience. They demand consistency. That's why results are rare while promises are everywhere. The funny part is that people often believe words because words arrive first. Results take time. They require months, sometimes years, before becoming visible. During that waiting period, many people become obsessed with explaining themselves. They want everyone to understand their vision. They want validation for their plans. They want recognition for work that hasn't happened yet. They keep talking because talking feels productive. It creates the illusion of movement, but reality doesn't care about explanations. Reality only responds to evidence. You can spend hours telling people how talented you are. The result will reveal the truth. You can spend years describing your potential. The result will reveal the truth. You can create the perfect story, the perfect excuse, the perfect image. The result will reveal the truth. That's what makes results so powerful. They don't argue. They don't debate. They don't seek approval. They simply exist. A result has a kind of authority that words can never achieve. Once something is accomplished, discussion becomes unnecessary. People can question your plans. They can criticize your methods. They can doubt your abilities. But when the outcome stands in front of them, their opinions suddenly lose power. The conversation changes. The doubts disappear. The skepticism fades. Not because you convinced them, but because reality did. That's why the smartest move is often silence followed by execution. Think about how much energy people waste defending unfinished dreams. They explain their goals to critics. They justify their decisions to doubters. They argue with people who never intended to believe in them. It's an exhausting cycle. Every explanation consumes energy that could have been invested into actual progress. Results eliminate that burden. When results arrive, they speak a language everyone understands. No translation required, no defense required, no argument required. The strongest answer is often not a response at all. It's achievement. People also forget that attention attracts pressure. The moment you announce every step of your journey, you create expectations. Suddenly, people are watching. They're evaluating. They're waiting for updates. They're measuring your progress. Instead of focusing on the work, you become distracted by the audience. You start managing perceptions instead of creating value. Results don't need an audience while they're being built. A building under construction doesn't stop every hour to explain its future shape. It keeps rising, brick after brick, layer after layer. The explanation arrives naturally when the structure is complete. Success operates the same way. It doesn't need constant commentary. It needs construction. There is also something deeply unsettling about results. They expose reality without mercy. They don't care about intentions. They don't reward excuses. They don't recognize effort that never became action. The world may sympathize with plans, but results remain indifferent. Either something was accomplished or it wasn't. Either progress was made or it wasn't. That's why results command respect. Not because they are loud, because they are undeniable. A person can question your confidence. They can question your intelligence. They can question your strategy. They can question your potential. But once the outcome exists, the conversation becomes smaller and smaller until only one thing remains visible: the evidence. And evidence has a strange way of silencing noise. While others compete to be heard, the builder keeps working. While others seek recognition, the builder seeks improvement. While others collect attention, the builder collects progress. Then one day, without warning, the work becomes visible. The hidden hours reveal themselves. The sacrifices reveal themselves. The discipline reveals itself. The audience that once ignored the silence suddenly notices what was created inside it. The same people who demanded explanations begin studying the outcome. The same people who overlooked the process become fascinated by the result. The same people who listened to promises from everyone else are left staring at proof that never needed to introduce itself.